Well, here we are on the road again, and it's just beautiful driving along this countryside. It's worth coming over here just to take a drive through the country. I'm seeing some beautiful old sheds and old buildings. They're all on private property and I don't have time to go searching for those, but gee, if I had a bit more time, I'd be over here again to spend a bit more time. And the other thing is, it's autumn. It's the end of autumn. We're not far from winter here, but the colours here are just beautiful. So you got these gorgeous orange and yellows all over the place. Yeah, really, really nice. So I'm just coming into the town of Alexandra, which is a gorgeous little place. And the first shop I'm looking for is a bakery or a coffee shop. I think I need to grab a coffee, so I'll just see if I can find something. Here we go. This looks good. All right, see how we go here. Okay, well here we go. I found myself a park bench. What a beautiful little spot this is. Oh man, I could spend the rest of the day here, I reckon, but I've got my coffee and I got my Kit Kats. So that's a new one, Kit Kats. Even got some cashew nuts here. So I'm going to get stuck into that before I continue the drive. It's only about a half-hour drive to the next town, so I'll look forward to that. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy this. Oh man, have a look at this place. This is just the road on the way to where I'm going. I'm actually heading to a little town called Bonnie Doon. That's right, it's not Scotland, it's here in Australia. But it's a somewhat iconic little place here in Australia, and it's right on one of the tributaries of Lake Eildon. And so I've never actually been to Bonnie Doon and that district, but if this is anything to go by, it is absolutely beautiful here. Look at these green rolling hills and the weather. It's just amazing. So this is at the end of May. So we get this often here in Australia where we have these beautiful warm sunny days. It's probably about 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. And at night time, it gets down to about 3, 4, 5 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty chilly at night time. But that ensures that we tend to have nice, clear nights. And of course, that's what we're seeking for Nightscape photography. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can find over there at Bonnie Doon. Well, this is an absolute bonus. I was just driving along the road here, looked over into the paddock, and I found this little property. Now, I drove up into the driveway of the closest farmhouse here just to ask if they owned the property and if it was okay to come here. They don't actually own the property, but they know the person who does. They say that they don't live here at all in this district. And so they said, yeah, it'll be okay for you to go over there. And so I'm going to come back here tonight and I'm going to shoot this. And there's a dam over there. I might have a go at that as well. But come on, I'll show you around and see what it looks like inside. So this old building here is what initially attracted me here from the road over there. And it's lined up perfectly to be shooting the Milky Way core coming up over the top tonight. So anywhere between about 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock perhaps. Milky Way right over there. Got this gorgeous tree on this side. other dead trees and a bit of a cattle loading ramp or something there. It's a fantastic spot for light painting. And just looking around, there's a couple of other trees and things, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon there's a few spots here that might be just perfect for me to shoot. Oh, look at that. Wow. The more you look, the more you find. I'll tell you what, there's some absolutely gorgeous stuff here. Just around behind here, there's an old boiler. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to shoot that because it's hidden away a bit, but gee, it looks great. Love this old stuff. Now, just walking around here, there's quite a few compositions on the old shed, which is fantastic. Another interesting composition could well be, I framed the shed and all of that stuff over there on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, this tree here, which the Milky Way will come right up over the top of that tree. So as a stand back sort of wider angle shot, I reckon that could look pretty good. Well, good morning and welcome to a very foggy Bonnie Doon. And here I am at the Bonnie Doon bridge, which is quite famous for anyone who's travelled in this district of Victoria. Goes over the lake here. Now, depending on what the level of the water is, obviously it comes right up and goes right down to nothing. I've seen pictures here where there's been absolutely nothing in there, and other pictures where it's right up high. So as you can see this morning, it's a lot of fog around in the air. It's actually starting to lift now, but before it was quite mysterious and eerie even. So I'm imagining it's going to be a bright blue sunny day once the fog clears. So what I wanted to do was update you on how I went with my photography last night. Now, I had good intention of taking you out in the field and showing you what I was doing at the old ruin that I showed you. And what happened was, and I didn't actually mention this earlier, so the day before yesterday, when I was investigating the creek and that little waterfall, I actually had a bit of a fall. I stumbled, a bit of the bank gave way, and I fell on my shoulder and my wrist. And progressively during the day yesterday, that was getting sorer and sorer. It's very stiff today. And consequently, it slowed me down considerably last night. So I wanted to make sure that I got the photos, and I had to bypass doing a lot of the on-site video. So I'm really sorry about that. In fact, it's so sore today that I'm going to cut short my trip. It was supposed to be 4 days. I'm going home today. It's only going to be a 3-day trip. I just need to rest it properly and sleep in my own bed, I think. Nothing's broken or anything like that. It's just really, really sore. And my wrist is the same, so I must have come down on my wrist. Anyway, that's enough of my woes. I want to show you around a little bit before I go, and also I want to talk you through the pictures that I took last night. So I was wrapped with those, by the way. Wow, it's just amazing being out here. Look at that. It's like a mirror. Now, those of you who have followed my channel for a little while, you'll know I talk about this stuff all the time, but I just can't resist it, because this is what photography is all about. It's about the senses, hearing, the smell, the feel of the breeze, and just the visuals. It's just absolutely delightful here. So, you know, we can talk about photography until the cows come home, you know, settings and cameras and lenses and everything else, but that isn't what's most important. This is what's the most important thing. And that's why I like to get away from time to time when I can and do these photography road trips. I want to be able to see this and experience this and not worry about other people. Now, sure, I love spending time with other photographers, and I love talking about photography, and I love talking about cameras and lenses and all of the other things that we do. But this is where it's at. You know, photography is an art form. It's about creating art. And what better place, what better blank canvas than somewhere like this? It's just amazing, isn't it? So in the 20 minutes or so that I've been here, the fog has just about totally lifted. It's amazing just actually being here to experience that. The water was totally covered. In fact, I couldn't see the other side of that bank when I first drove in here, and now I can see way off into the distance. So I guess that just illustrates my point. These are fleeting moments. You have to be there to experience it, and you have to spend the time whilst you're here savouring the moment. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I was just chatting with a photographer who happened to drop by here, and he saw the fog rolling over the water here, and we both agreed it was a magnificent sight. But just standing here up on this hill, and I'm overlooking the water, and I'm watching the fog roll off over the top of those hills down there. It's an absolutely amazing sight. In fact, it's just going so quickly. Oh boy, I'm excited, and it's just fog, you know. Oh dear, it's got nothing to do with nightscapes or anything else. It's just a matter of being here and in the moment. Wow. As the sunshine takes over from the fog, it's taking away that mystique, I suppose. And the fog just rolling across those hills there. But here, where it was before, it's kind of bland now. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as it did. I suppose that's just the magic of photography, isn't it? So it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not early by any means, and the sun is fairly low still, but wow. Gee, it's just so nice here. Okay, well, I must apologise about getting so distracted by this scene that's unfolding here, but I couldn't help it. It's just so beautiful. It still is beautiful across that hill down there behind me. But I want to talk about my photo shoot last night. So of course I went back to the farm, and the Milky Way lined up beautifully in the eastern sky rising over the old building. As I showed you in the afternoon when I visited, it was a beautiful, calm and clear night. Now I didn't have any trouble with lens fogging, but I would have had I stayed there any longer because there was quite a lot of dew settling on the lens. on the 20mm f1.8 lens that I use, the S-mount lens, it's got a fairly big lens hood, and that was very wet. So I had the lens warmer ready to go, but I didn't need it in the end. So what I did, I shot multiple compositions, and I used my multiple stacking shots for noise reduction for the sky. And most of the time I took about 10, sometimes 12 images to do that. And a lot of you ask me about stacking for noise reduction and all of those things. Well, the reason I do that, of course, is to make a clean image. I'll put those into Sequator. Now, those of you using Mac software, Starry Landscape Stacker is the way to go. Fantastic piece of software for Mac. And what that does, it removes the noise, at the same time lines up the stars, and at the same time, as well as that, it actually freezes the foreground. Now, a lot of you say, well, just do it in Photoshop. Well, you can do a lot of that in Photoshop, but you can't freeze the foreground and align the stars, and it takes an enormous amount of work. Sequator is fantastic software for doing that in a fairly simplified format. Anyway, so I took a number of those, then I light painted using my fine art light painting method. Most of the time I shot at f5 at ISO 500 for the light painted shots. For 10 or 15 second shutter speed. Now, when it comes to light painting foregrounds, the shutter speed is quite irrelevant. You only need a shutter speed that is long enough for you to apply the light that you want to apply. So in my case, 10 seconds most of the time was plenty. Sometimes I shoot 15 seconds because I'm just not quite sure how long I need. It doesn't matter. When I'm shooting the night sky, however, I'm shooting, if I'm doing single exposures with a 20mm focal length, I tend to shoot 15 second shutter speeds at about ISO 6400. Now, I was shooting with an aperture of f2.2 last night, and you'll see the shots here are all shot at f2.2 for the sky, but then I'm stopping down for the foreground to usually about f5. Sometimes I'll shoot maybe f6 or f8. Again, it's all to do with focus. So this is quite an interesting thing, because when you stop down the lens, you're increasing the depth of field. So for the shots I took last night of the barn, it was probably no closer than 10 meters from the camera. So what that means is I don't need to stop down or change the focus. All I need to do is stop the aperture down, and that increases that depth of field anyway. But I can tell you now that even at f2.2, and I'm focused on infinity, something that's 10 meters away or 12 or 15 meters away is going to be in focus anyway. And that's what I found. I didn't have to touch the focus ring for the whole night when it come to those shots, which is really easy to do. It speeds up the workflow, and it saves you having to adjust the camera pretty much more than you need to. So I shot a number of compositions there. Added to that, I had trucks going through for the whole night that I was there, and I had to try and time my shot between each of those trucks going down the highway, because the highway wasn't very far away, and it was shining a lot of headlight onto the buildings and so forth. So anyway, but I was pretty happy with how they all came out, and I think you will be as well. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to Bonnie Doon. It's been fantastic being here. I didn't spend a whole lot of time photographing at this particular location, except this morning. In fact, this morning has been the highlight of my time here at Bonnie Doon because of that fog and just the atmosphere of the place. But you know, that little shack that I shot was only about 5 k's down the road from here, so I was really pleased to be able to get that collection of shots to share with you guys. Anyway, that's all I've got for you on this episode, and this short little road trip comes to a close. So if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd be delighted to have you on board. If you want to chat in the comments down below, yeah, I'd love to chat with you guys as well. Always like to know what you guys are getting up to and how you're experiencing your adventures wherever you are in the world. Anyway, until I see you next time, you have a fantastic week. I'll see you later.